it's 7 o'clock, so I suppose we should make a start. Thank you very much for coming. Very nice to see you all. Everybody okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody's effulgent. Obviously, you must be chanting regularly. Yes. Hands up, who isn't? Yes. Prime has lost weight.
This is why he sits more weight, right?
Okay, so I can see we're all experts here, so I don't have to explain anything about what we're doing here or what this process is at the moment. So, although we will talk about it, no doubt. It's always good to hear these things anyway, even if we think we know them, because we're constantly forgetting things. I know I am anyway. I'm sure most other people will agree with me and have the same experience, that this Kali Yuga mind or Kali Yuga consciousness is very forgetful. Yeah, I just forgot what I was just saying. So it's very important that we have these sanghas, these meetings, do this chanting, remind ourselves why we're doing it, remind ourselves how important it is, constantly study Bhagavad Gita and all these other scriptures all the time, as much as we possibly can, because we'll forget or we'll get distracted. So something will come along and make us, tempt us to think of or do something else, or think something else is more important. Yes? So let's do the most important thing first, the Kirtan. Wonderful, thank you very much. Everyone's okay? Just a quick something about the chanting. Usually it's something about the chanting, as it's the most important part of our process. Yes, without these three words, nothing else would exist, right? Yeah. Thank you very much. And water as well, I suppose. Reliant on that as well as chanting, right? Thank you. So I'm just dipping into this regular thing we get posted every day by my mentor or tormentor in New York. Well, I see I kind of did put up a thing about 10 offences. I think it was something about the offences, chanting on the things. So this, I think it just refers to sort of some of that on the clearing stage, or the numbus stage of chanting. When we first start chanting, becoming devotees, get into the chanting, we're in an offensive state of mind, an offensive state of consciousness, and we commit these offences to the chanting of the Holy Name, which we have to sort of, over a period of time, naturally these things tend to fall away a little bit, and we tend to operate on chanting more in a more pure fashion. The more expert, if that's the right word, we become at chanting, we tend to become less offensive. But initially, because we're so polluted, our consciousness is so polluted, we're actually committing a lot of offences, because then when we actually come to some realisation of what this chanting really is, because we don't really understand that in the early stages, what it really is, what these names really are, that comes with realisation over time. We tend to commit a lot of offences inadvertently. I mean, it's not sort of like we do on purpose, we don't. But we have to, there's a clearing stage of chanting, this numbus clearing stage. So this is just a little overcoming the stage of numbus. Chanting numbus is endowed with a particular quality. Once the devotee has understood how to chant properly on this stage, his strong desire to chant purely will soon awake. Therefore, in Harinam Chintamani, Haridas Thakur, everybody knows who Haridas Thakur is? Yes? Nobody doesn't know? Sorry? You don't know?
Namacharya Haridas Thakur.
The Namacharya. Yeah, when we were in India, we went to this place where Haridas Thakur lived, in Puri. And he would chant, I think it's 300,000 names of Krishna every day. So he was very elevated soul, as you can imagine. He was constantly chanting. And he's considered to be the Namacharya, they call the name of the Acharya, the holy name. Very, very, and associated with Chaitanya. This is 500 years ago approximately. So very important personality. So therefore, in Harinam Chintamani, Haridas Thakur requests Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to explain the chanting of numbus. Firstly, Lord Chaitanya points out, the most important thing to understand is that the name of Krishna is identical with Krishna. Yes? Krishna is absolute, this is Krishna. When we're chanting, we're in direct association with the Supreme Being. Yes? Because he's purely spiritual, he's omnipotent, he's within everything, he's within the atoms. And we're having direct contact with him through this chanting. So he's the same as his name, yes? The perception of that is not easy to realise until we improve our chanting, and the more we chant, the more we come to this realisation of this. But in the early stages, we don't really know that. We just accept that we have to chant. Our guru tells us you do this, and then Krishna will reveal himself, yes? And he does. And first of all, he gives us pleasure, right? So when we're chanting like in Kirtan, we know there's something special about these three words, right? If we all sat here and sung, I don't know, Boris Johnson all night, we certainly wouldn't feel any bliss, right? Their names, right? Just the same. But we do this every week, yeah? We do this all the time. And it never gets dull or boring know. So there's something special about these things. We realise that to a minimal degree in the early stages. But to really understand in its full, you know, when it's fully revealed, just imagine. This is coming from, you know, billions and billions of light years away. We're tapping into something which is far beyond our perception, far beyond our understanding, just by this very simple process of chanting these three words. It's quite incredible when you meditate and think upon this. So Krishna and his name is identical, and equally it is as powerful as Krishna. It is because of his material covering and not because of the holy name that the living entity cannot perceive the greatness and the beauty of the holy name. Because of our material covering, we can't really perceive how great, how wonderful this is. We get a taste, right? A little taste of how wonderful it is, but not in its full, not to get a full exposure to it. That comes as we progress. Yes? So this is very important to understand, because this is such a pure, such a potent process. And then we have a little prayer here saying, "Dear Krishna, please help me to come to the platform of pure chanting. Please help me to develop a taste for chanting and to overcome all the deep anarthas in my heart, all the deep inebrities within my heart, all the conditioning, all the bad conditioning, all the impurities that we have developed over many, many lifetimes in material existence, to come to the point of pure chanting." Yeah. Then we'll experience even higher levels of realization, higher levels of pleasure, and Krishna will reveal himself more and more and more. And the more we purify our consciousness. Because don't forget, Krishna is supremely pure. Yeah? No inebrities. There's no tinge of any material inebrity there. Purely spiritual. But we're trapped in material bodies, covered by material conditioning. Me and Connor were discussing about how deep our conditioning is a little bit earlier. We don't until we actually start to practice, these layers of conditioning start to dissolve away. We don't actually come to any realization of how conditioned we actually are. Yes? But as we develop our taste for chanting, we become more and more realized in that direction, more and more we'll understand the truth. Yes? So this chanting is very potent, very important. And we have to constantly remind ourselves about that, because the material energy, both from without and within, will constantly nag us to forget this. Yeah? Distract us, you know. Yeah? So, very important we don't forget. And all this, everything you see around us here, all of the association we have with all these people around us here, all of these temples, all of these beautiful deities, all of the fantastic philosophy, everything else that we experience has all come from this chanting. Yeah? Prabhupada brought this chanting from India to the West in 1965. Sat under a tree, started chanting. Yeah? Let's not forget how important this initial process is, and do our best to become less offensive. You know, to understand these things. Try and learn what these offences are. I mean, they're up there. We won't go through them at the moment, but if we can, they're very easily available to sort of find these things. Try and perfect ourselves, develop ourselves, and help us to chant more purely. Then we'll experience even more pleasure. And not only that, when we get to the end of this particular lifetime, we'll escape this cycle of suffering. Yes? But not only that, we can help others escape this cycle of suffering, which is the most important thing, actually, and we'll discuss that a little bit after, when we look at the Bhagavad Gita, because we're in a bit of an area in the Bhagavad Gita where this is explained to some degree, and we can elaborate on that a little bit then. So, very important. Hare Krishna mantra is the most important regulative principle. Yes. So as much or as little or as much as we can do, don't neglect it. Okay. Thank you for chanting like a transcendental choir. I was sitting here really enjoying your chanting. Very nice. It's always a pleasure, isn't it? It's never not pleasure. Yes? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, can I say something?
Yes.
I've just noticed Anyway, all of us know that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer as well as the supreme proprietor of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? But unfortunately, our Prabhupada or Krishna or anybody doesn't seem to look rich. We are not giving any flowers, fresh flowers or anything.
Mm.
And obviously, there used to be a small thing there for donations. Since nothing is happening there, it has come here. So instead, what I think, because obviously somebody is contributing for all this hall and everything, and it seems to be that the same people are contributing all the time. So, I mean, all of us have phones, yeah? If we can just make a standing order of £1 or £2 or £5, whatever that you want to contribute. If we give the bank details, can we have 5 minutes to just
Yes,
pick up our phones and just connect to our accounts and just start giving a little bit of money?
Do you want a job?
Yeah. Shall we do? Let's take out our phones first. I mean, the minimum we need to have is some fresh flowers. Yeah, and that we are missing. So, if you can take out your phones and just open your bank accounts, please.
It's the best way to spend your money, you know that.
Yeah, I mean, if we all believe that Krishna is the proprietor, we are just using all the money, and it's almost like cheating if we don't. Why is it? Okay.
It's no good hiding out in the corridor.
Sorry, I think I opened the wrong account.
Yeah.
No, I opened my India account. So, okay.
Why don't we share the...
Yeah, we'll just get the account details.
Yeah.
So, if you go to pay, and then you have the account numbers.
Yeah, we can write it down. Put it on the chat, actually. I think
Yeah.
it's better than put it on the...
Which one?
Yeah.
You can put it on the chat.
That's a good idea.
No, we can do it now. How much time? Pay someone in the UK, and from your account,
Yeah.
and add a new payee. Full name of the account, please.
I haven't booked.
Oh, you haven't got.
I
Right. I mean, is it okay for doing this now or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because nobody is carrying cash these days, so these seem to be a bit, yeah. Yeah. Can you read out? Yeah. Read out the full name of the account.
North Kent Sangha,
North Kent Sangha.
sort code.
Just a minute.
Sangha with a H.
Sangha with
No
a H.
H actually.
No H.
Yeah.
No H.
Really
Okay, North Kent Sangha.
Nobody gets that wrong, do they?
And the 6-digit sort code, please.
60
60
08
08
37
37. I got it wrong. Okay, so that is 600837.
Yep.
And the account number
653
653
116
116
98.
98. Okay, account type is going, it's not a business account, no? Is it a business account? Must be. No? Yeah.
Must be.
Okay.
Dangati is the tax collector. You should know these things.
I think if you put business account, it is not accepting.
Okay, it might be just a personal account.
Okay.
And that's a name and surname, isn't
Enter reference.
My
Okay.
network is very big, it's still loading. See?
Right. Okay.
Oh, just loaded.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Now it has loaded. Yeah. Check payee details. Payee account type not matched.
it?
So maybe it is.
I think your network is very big, so put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, actually, if you put business account it got.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, it's not a personal account. Make it business account. And then whatever amount you want to type,
No, it's gone through his business account.
and then select option. Your friends and family maybe. Okay. Continue. And that confirms. And usually make another transfer. Oh, it doesn't say standing order here.
That's it, all done. Mum went through.
Okay. Right, anyway. Hare Krishna, sorry for pushing like this. But I think our Sangha needs a little bit of money so that at least our Guru and Krishna will be looking a bit more rich.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now that's a very interesting set of circumstances. You see, the other day on the project or the Sangha management group, we were discussing how to get donations and get more money. You see, Krishna is Paramatma, right? So this is how Krishna works, right? Put it out there, Krishna manifests and arranges. And so Krishna is using Ravi there, and that's how Krishna works. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so
Festival comes round.
Please, I think if we can share these details and I mean, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, whatever we eat without offering Krishna is sin. Similarly, if you are enjoying all your money, and in fact, that is the main problem with us, that we feel that we are the enjoyers and whatever we have, we think it is ours. That is the main problem.
yeah, it's part of our system actually. If you read the books and read Prabhupada's instructions, Guru's instructions, his something we have to give to service to temple or to the Sangha or whatever else. That's part
And
of the
this is the
process.
best donation.
Yeah.
Because you are serving Krishna.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I enjoyed that. Okay. But yes, we'll discuss a little bit about that actually in a minute, I think. So we'll get on with the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you. And yeah, I mean, our goal, obviously, I mean, thinking about these things, just as an aside, is to try and get our own place, as well. And all these things need money, I mean, it's nice here, it's very nice here, but we've often discussed how we'd want to get back to getting our own premises, everything else, and everything costs money. So, unfortunately. But if we have the desire, and if we put it out there, and Krishna will manifest these things. But again, it's down to the purity of our consciousness, the purity of our intention, to develop Krishna consciousness within ourselves and to help others to understand this as well, to attract more and serve Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. So thank you, Prabhupada, that's very nice. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Okay, continuing with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 still, contents of the Gita summarized. Verse 34, is it? Verse 34. Okay. As we're a bit Let me read a couple of verses here actually, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of verses in this little section here. After Krishna has been explaining the nature of the soul to Arjuna, about the similar subject matter. So. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyavanti te vyayam sambhavityasya chakritir maranaratriyachyate. Should we repeat that? Akritim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakritir maranaratiriyachyate. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonour is worse than death. So we're carrying on this conversation where Arjuna was, Krishna was chastising Arjuna actually, telling him because he's a Kshatriya, he's a warrior, and his dharma, his duty is to fight and warrior, to protect and to fight evil, fight the bad with good, etc., etc. It is his nature, and he should follow that, and he shouldn't go away from the battlefield and think he's going to live in a cave in the Himalayas, because he will regret it all the rest of his life. Now, for a Kshatriya, it's difficult in some sense, some regards, for us to understand what a Kshatriya really is, right? I mean, imagine what that process involves, you know. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I was standing in the bathroom, and there was a little tiny spider in the sink. I mean, you know, being devotees, we're all soft-hearted, right? We wouldn't flush the spider. We do our best to get the spider out, you know. Yeah. So I wouldn't even kill a spider, you know, whether I had to or not. You know, I know people probably do. And I was thinking about an example when I was working back in quite a long time ago. And I used to travel quite a lot. I remember going to Germany one time, where the company I worked for had a thing there, and there was a cellar in this place, where the people used to repair machines and everything else. And I remember having to do some training down there. And I remember I was working down there with two guys down there, and I walked down, and I was a devotee at the time. I'd become a devotee, and I was, you know. And there were these cellars, and this is in Hamburg, and there were a lot of mice in this cellar, or around about, you know. And I remember a mouse wandered out into the cellar, and one of the blokes just went over and stepped on it and picked it up and threw it in a bin. And I stood there and I thought, I couldn't do that. You know, I just couldn't do that. You know, to me that would be something I wouldn't even cross my mind to do that. Well, you know, I couldn't do that. And yet he could do that. And it made me realise at the time. And then I remember, because at the time I'd also been reading about Srila Prabhupada's father. Yeah? And there were a lot of mice in Calcutta also, right? But what he used to do is he used to put a bowl of rice outside the door for the mice. And the mice would go and eat the rice, and they wouldn't come into the kitchen and stuff like that. So he'd feed. And I was thinking about the mentality. And then it got me to thinking today about the mentality of a Kshatriya, what that must be like, to be in a position where you have to kill people, let alone a little spider, you know what I mean? I couldn't even do that. So in this situation Arjuna's in, you can imagine the dilemma, to actually kill hundreds of people, you know, slaughter, you know, in a battle must be. I couldn't get my head around how somebody could do that. So to understand the nature of a Kshatriya, can anybody else understand that? To get their head around how you have to be to do that. So to understand the nature of what that Kshatriyas were like in the previous age, to what people are like now, even soldiers now, you know, at some point, and maybe even, you know, maybe police to some degree may have to do that at some point. But I couldn't even bring myself to imagine myself in a situation like that. So imagine you can understand Arjuna's situation, maybe to some degree, but the mindset or the consciousness is totally different to anything that I can get my head around. And maybe it's the same for you. But that was his duty, you know. And the Vedic culture, as we know, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, Shudras, Brahmanas, they have their different nature, and they would act on that, and that was their duty, and they would do that, would follow them instructions and do that stuff for a higher purpose. Again, like we said before, with Krishna consciousness and Vedic culture, sometimes we have to zoom right out and look at things in a totally different perspective to what we are conditioned and brought up to think life is about, or how we feel and what we should be doing. Yes? So it's quite an interesting thing to meditate on, you know. And I can't imagine how difficult that must be, to be on a battlefield and have to kill another person, let alone a spider or a mouse. And I think that, but some people can. This guy just, you know, didn't mean anything to him killing this mouse. And I was aghast. Why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. You know, it mean a thing. So it goes to show you how our consciousness, when you become a devotee, you know, changes. For many, you know, some people may not have thought differently before they became devotees. I don't know. Who knows what people's thoughts and aspirations and everything are like. But for me, it seems it'd be a very difficult thing to do. Impossible, actually. So Arjuna, being a Kshatriya, had a they're a totally different breed of people, right? With a different nature completely to what we understand. But if he didn't do that, he would suffer in the future. And he would, not only within himself, but the whole situation, the ripple effect of what he would do if he removed himself from the battlefield would change everything in a totally derogatory way, and everybody would suffer because of it. So, you know, because of that, his duty was very, very strong. You know, he had to do it, and Krishna was explaining to him why he should, and telling him what would happen to him if he didn't. So he said, for a respectable person, dishonour is worse than death. Srila Prabhupada writes, both as friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you by bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. We can take a lot of advice from this on a personal level, actually. Because we're actually, you know, we're not Kshatriyas, but we are soldiers, right? In the war against Maya, right? Yes? We've been picked by and put into Krishna's army, right? Yes? We're like the pawns in the army, yeah?
Spiritual warriors.
The spiritual warriors, absolutely. And it's our responsibility and our duty, you know, to fight the battle against Maya and not to give in. Because we will, if we do, we regret it, yeah? We'll get swallowed up by Maya. And that Maya's very strong. Don't let's think we're strong. We're not. We're very weak. And we're even weaker if we're on our own. You know, there's always that example of sticks. If you have one little stick, you can break one stick very easily. But if you get a bunch of sticks and try and break, you can't, you know. So that's why Sangha is so important, you know. So important to keep us strong. You know, it keeps us stronger together. But we've been picked, you know, don't think you're not here for just because, you know, it's just a nice thing to do on a Friday night. There's a reason why we're all here. There's a reason why Ravi's here, to get money out of you. and it's Krishna, and it's Krishna working, yes? When Prabhupada came to the West, just think, I mean, you just read the biography of Prabhupada, think about that, you know. All these devotees, when you think of what they did back in the 60s when Prabhupada came, they were all there, planted by Krishna, waiting. And when Prabhupada came to the West, I remember reading somebody said, you know, you can't go there, you know. What would be pointless in going there? Then, you know, there's nobody there for you. They're all lechers, they're all flesh eaters, you know, whatever. They won't listen to you. Nobody. But somebody also said to him, well, actually, Krishna has arranged it. Krishna has placed people there to help you. You know, they're there. They are there, waiting for you, just to wake them up, just to chant, wake them up, and then bang, there. The servants are there, and look what happened. Yeah. So it's the same for us. We are also like that. We're here We've been waiting for Krishna and Prabhupada to wake us up and to join that army. But we have to remain strong, we have to be strong, like Kshatriyas, even though we're not, right? But we are soldiers in one sense, yeah? Because we're in a battle with the illusory energy. Yes?
Say, your comparison between the man that killed the mouse, do you think that in your comparison to soldiers is slightly different because with soldiers there's an element of self-defence? With a mouse, I find that more abhorrent than a battlefield.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, same here. That was, I mean, that example. I brought that up as an example that I couldn't even think of doing something like that. It wouldn't even cross my mind to do something like that. And yeah, some people have a nature which is different. Maybe it's just hard heart here. Yeah, but with soldiers, with Kshatriyas, it's a duty, and that's a dharma. That is a duty, to protect. There is a natural inclination, a natural propensity to want to do that.
and that's killed or be killed.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But it's been twisted around in Kali Yuga. So when we're talking about Kshatriyas, we're talking about a different state of mind. Their service is on a spiritual level, really, not on a material level.
Yeah, because we don't fight like hand-to-hand battle, do we?
Not now. No. But even if we did, it's still for country. Nobody's doing it for well, we do it for God on our side. We've got God on our side. We've got God on our side. That's all nonsense. It's all nationalism, which Prabhupada said was a curse. Actually, that's what wars are for over, or oil, or material things. But for these sort of wars were different. This war was totally different. Nothing like now. The same as the nature of the soldier is different now to what it was then. The Kshatriya. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a different consciousness, different intention.
Necessary. You can have an element of this is necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No. So yeah, we have to try and be strong. We have to do it together. We have to listen to the commander or the general or whatever. And follow their instructions. And then we can remain strong and fight Maya and help others and protect others, because that's what it's all about. It's like we're saying, service. It's service. Yes. That is if you examine the world and examine all the species of life in the world, the human form of life which we are now, or the human body which we are now inhabiting, what's the purpose of that? If we think there is a purpose, what is the purpose of human life? To drink, eat, and be merry. Does anybody think that's the purpose of human life? Does anybody think that? So what is the purpose of being in a human body? If there is a purpose, what is that purpose? Service.
And everybody is doing service to somebody.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're not part of the food chain. No, we're not. That's not our purpose. Like our purpose, if we really examine what the purpose of human life is to protect, to serve, and to help, and look after the planet and look after the other inhabitants of the planet. Yeah, that's the purpose of human life. If you think about it, there is no. If anybody can give me another purpose, I'd be quite happy to, agree that there's something else, but it isn't actually. We are apparently the highest form of life on the planet. Yeah. And what does it say in the Bible about human beings? No? We've been given this purpose to look after things, to protect everything. It's in the Bible as well, isn't it? I think in every religious scripture, isn't it? Not to eat them. No, nothing in there to say we should be killing and eating things. Yeah. I can't remember. There's a word. There's a
Dominion, is it?
Dominion. Is it? That's right. Yeah, dominion. Yeah. Doesn't mean you're going to eat everything. That's there for my pleasure. It's there for me to eat, me to drink, me to kill and eat. No, it doesn't mean that. No, we're here for our purpose is to protect and to look after the world, the planet, that Krishna has given us. He's given us a nice place, actually, but it was a nice place. But everything was there, everything was provided. We discussed with Sri Upanishad when we do this. It's complete, everything is complete. Everything is there in what Krishna gave us, right? Yeah. The whole creation, the whole world, the whole planet, everything in nature is there, everything is provided. But because we've misused and abused it and taken stuff we don't need and had an industrial revolution which we didn't need and destroyed everything to fund that, to make everybody miserable, stupid human beings. But everything's there, Krishna's given it, and that's our purpose of human life, is to protect it, use it properly, and then everything will be provided and everybody will be happy. Simple. But no, not us. So anyway, as foot soldiers we have to try and, spiritual warriors have to try and fight a fight, and also to try and educate people to understand that. Trying to get back to what the truth is, because, otherwise everything is just more and more of a mess. And more of a mess is being created by these people who are in charge, who have no knowledge of this. They're not Kshatriyas. There's no Kshatriyas in Kali Yuga. Not like Arjuna and other one-ways in Vedic culture. So, better anyway. So, and if we don't do it, then we'll regret it, just like Arjuna will if he doesn't do his duty here. Yes? We see around us happening. I notice there's a lot of. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I was watching some news item about one personality, very, very, I think it was there are many personalities like Jimmy Savile and all these people who are in positions where they're influencing other people. And I think it was a newsreader, wasn't it, who was in a very high position. I can't remember his name. Hugh Edwards, is it?
Hugh somebody.
Yeah. Seemed to be a very respected person, very, very, and very influential. These people people look up to these people, right? And expect them to act in a certain way. But then they're found out that they do something abominable, they've been doing something stupid, and then life is going to be like now for the rest of his life. He's blown it by doing something absolutely ridiculous, which is all down to sense gratification. Yes. So that's a similar sort of thing to what would happen to Arjuna if he didn't do his duty properly. Because he's looked up to, everybody's relying on him. If he abandons his purpose here, he would really, really.
He was a very educated person.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, many of them. Yeah, but they fall down and do something like that. And it's a similar sort of thing. It's relatable in a similar sort of way. So his life is going to be hell now for the rest of his life. So that's what Krishna is saying to Arjuna. If you do this, not that he's doing anything like that, but he's abandoning his duty, then his life in the future is going to be hellish, because he'll have nothing but regret. And everybody who was looking up to him, everybody who was relying on him will suffer. So it's a very human life, and our responsibility, once we begin to understand this knowledge and to begin to try and help others with that, it's a big responsibility, right? Krishna is investing a big responsibility in this, to do this, So don't neglect it, don't just stick with it, don't abandon our situation. Because there will be a lot of attacks. Maya will attack, We will be at war with Maya. Maya's very sneaky, very, very sneaky. She will try and distract us. But we have to be strong, we have to stay strong. Are you going to say something? I can see your finger went up in the air. Yeah. Was he? No? Maybe. That's okay.
I think if Arjuna didn't fight, then it would have changed the course of history.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when when you look at this situation, this is, it seems just we're getting a little bit of an instruction about what Arjuna should do, but the result of that action is enormous. Absolutely enormous. The ripple effect from this little action here, this little instruction, even though it seems like just a little verse, it's very mega important in the whole history of humanity, in the whole history of the world. Yeah. So we'll read the next verse because it sort of relates. Carry on a little bit. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. So this is, what Arjuna may have been doing something out of, or thinking he's doing something out of compassion, but that's not how people will see it. Yeah, they'll see it differently. Text 36. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea of compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. Text 37. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore get up with determination and fight. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. For being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets. Text 38. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by doing so, you will never incur sin. Okay. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting, because he desires the battle. Right, this is where we get to service, right? Krishna wants this, yes? So he should do it because of that. For no other reason, he should fight for Krishna, because Krishna desires it. There is no consideration of happiness and distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness, and there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness no longer is obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. So this Krishna conscious activity, being transcendental, frees us from all karmic reactions. Yeah? Everything that we may have been suffering from in the past, everything we might be suffering from in the future, will be negated, eliminated if we take to Krishna consciousness. Yes? Everything. Yeah? It is said, Devarshi bhutapta nriyanam pitrinam na kinkara nayam rinicharajan sarvatmana yaha sharanam sharanayam gato mukundam pariritya kratam. Anyone who is completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. That's from the Bhagavad 11:5-41. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. So these verses here, we really just run through them because they all pertain to the same thing. That if Arjuna doesn't do his duty, humanity will suffer, he will suffer, yeah? Everybody will suffer. So he has to do his duty. That's the important thing to understand. And his duty is service to Krishna. Yes? Everything is to be done as a service to Krishna. If we do that, and that applies to us as well, and like I said, we're all soldiers, spiritual warriors. I don't feel like a warrior, I have to confess, but we're all spiritual warriors. And we should commit to that process and commit to that purpose. If we really have faith in what the Bhagavad Gita is telling us, if we have faith in our Guru, and Lord Chaitanya and what he is saying, then we have to be strong, and we have to stay strong, and we have to fight Maya, and we have to try and be tough in that regard. And the only way to do that is to commit to the process. Yeah, and that's to chant, that's right. Yeah. Maya will always try and distract us. Yes? We're in Maya's domain, as we say many, many times. This is Maya's world. Yeah? We're trying to claw our way out of it. Yeah? And we can only do that through this process. Yes? And by association. My guru said that the most important thing in the universe is association of devotees. Yeah? But like that, if we keep that association, then we'll be strong. Yeah? If we serve devotees, we'll become even stronger. If we give money to the Sangha, we'll become so strong you wouldn't believe it. It's true. So that's our purpose. That's the purpose of human life, right? Yeah? It is the purpose of human life, to serve God. Yeah? Yes? Yeah. I know that when I was younger, the whole idea of God I found a little bit uncomfortable for some reason when I was a younger man. The idea of Krishna I found beautiful. Funny that, isn't it? I have no issue with serving Krishna. But I think I might have had an issue with serving God, because I always had this idea of you used to see these evangelical preachers and that who made me feel a bit sort of a bit odd, to be honest with you. I don't want to be like that. But serving Krishna seems to have a different quality to it. There's a different quality to that. I don't know why that is, but it's true. So beautiful, so inspiring, so wonderful. You know, such a beautiful philosophy, such a beautiful process. And like I think you were saying last week, you want to give it to everybody. When you get something so wonderful, you want to give it to everyone, don't you? But we have to temper that somewhat, to some degree, unfortunately, because most people are just going to glaze over and look at you and think you're crazy. So we have to find a nice way to do it, but we have to do it somehow. Prasadam being a very good way of doing it. As we know, that's a nice way to plant the seed. So if we can all make a little bit of a commitment to dress up in our uniforms and fight this fight, then that's fantastic. We can all be then spiritual warriors. And that's really, and if we don't, then we will regret it. Yeah. But there's the other nice thing about Krishna consciousness is that you don't lose anything. If you do fail in this process, and we'll discuss that later in the Bhagavad Gita, there is no failure in Krishna consciousness. So don't think that if you can't do it, you can't commit, or you can't, do this stuff as well as you think you'd like to. It doesn't matter that much, because you never actually lose whatever advancement you make. I know I've had that in my own personal experience. I did bloop for some years, back in the 80s. And I personally experienced how, when I came back, for whatever reason that happened, Krishna sort of manipulated things and brought me back again. I found that I picked up exactly where I left off. It wasn't like, it's true, where it says that if you fail in this, you can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, you don't lose anything, I came back and it sort of like picked up exactly more or less where I left off, which was fantastic. So if we do have problems, don't worry about it, but it's nice if we can stay with the process. And there are many ways to help you to do that. And one of the most effective ways I found was, if you have any problems in your spiritual life, is to pray to Nityananda. Lord Nityananda, and we say Gauranitai, Gauranitai, you'll find Lord Nityananda is very merciful, will give you a lot of... Nityananda is an incarnation of Balaram, Krishna's brother. Balaram is very strong and he gives you strength, yes? So if you do have any issues or problems, always talk to other devotees, and always, everybody's here to help. We're all here to help each other if there is any issues. As we've discussed on our mentorship group quite a lot. That's why we have the mentorship group. That we're all there to sort of like help each other, and if there's any issues, but if there are problems, and there will be problems, always reveal your mind to other devotees. If you have a problem with that, always pray to Lord Nityananda and he will help you. Guaranteed, yeah? I guarantee. It's always a good, somebody told me that once upon a time. And there will be problems, Not everything's ever going to go smoothly. This is Kali Yuga, this is the material world. And people who are devotees or aspiring devotees or neophyte devotees are in a number stage of chanting, as we said earlier, and there will be offences, not only to the holy name but to each other. But we have to develop a consciousness where we have to accept, well, hold on, this person, is struggling like I am, and we should try and help and support each other in that way. It's all part of the process. That's what love is, right? That's what service is. So, okay, it's 12:30, so are we having a arati? We're not. He's left his stuff at home. Okay. He's struggling. But anyway, so thank you very much for all coming, and thank you for doing it in your service and for giving all your money to North Kent Sangha and fighting Maya. Yeah. Don't spend it on, Sky or, whatever it may be you want to spend your money on. If you have some extra, give it to a transcendental service of Krishna. You will be well rewarded. It'll come back, many, many times multiplied in many different ways. There's no doubt. Yeah. Okay, we'll have Kirtan anyway, yeah? Because I've got a bit of a dry throat today. I've been suffering with that this week, so. Any questions or comments or corrections? Katie? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Discourse Mukunda Park.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna
ki jai, Vrindavan ki jai, Tati Devi Maharani ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. Just a simple prayer for Jeanette, who just had a little operation, just lovely Jeanette, cake maker. Just keep her in the prayers. I think she's okay. She's had a little bit of a thing to get through, little health things, so hopefully she'll be alright. So keep her in the prayers. And we're praying who's in Germany, bless you. We'll just do nourishing it back here. We'll have some prasad. That's alright. Protect all of us. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Mahaprasade Govinde,
Mahaprasade Govinde,
Nama Brahmani Vaishnave,
Nama Brahmani Vaishnave,
Swalpa Punyavatam Rajan,
Sala Punya Rajan,
Visvaso Naiva Jayate,
Vishwaso Nayajayate,
Sarira Avidyajal,
Sarira Vidyajal,
Jodendriya Tahekal,
Jodindriya Tahekal,
Jive Fele Vishya Sagore,
Jive Pe Shasavre,
Tara Madhya Jihva Ati,
Taramati Varaji,
Lovamoy Sudurmati,
Lopamaya Sudharmati,
Take Jeta Katina Samsare,
Tahekala Kanchasare,
Krishna Bada Joyamoy,
Krishna Vada Jalamoy,
Korivale Bajai,
Sori Vare Vijayal,
Prasad Ahmed Gopal,
Prasad Gopal,
Jaya Nam Gopal,
Jaya Nam Gopal,
Radha Krishna Jaga,
Radha Krishna Gulaka,
Devi Dako, Chaitanya Nitai,
Vedanta Jayanitai,
Jai Nimai, Jai Nitai,
Jayanitai, Jayanitai,
Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Shri Advaita Gadadhara,
Shri Advaita Gadadhara,
Srivasadi Gaurabhakta
Srivasadi Gaurabhakta,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Mahaprasadam ki
Jai.
Very much.
Everybody knows the meaning of this? Can we just go back from the first?
Quite heavy actually.
Okay, so to Mahaprasadam and to Govinda, Nama Brahmani means to the Harinam Sankirtan that we are doing, and Vaishnava to all the Vaishnava devotees, Swalpa Punya Matam Rajan, people who haven't got accumulated good fortune or blessings. Viswaso Naiva Jayate, they will not have any faith. So they do not have faith in the Mahaprasade or Govinda or the name or Vaishnavas. Next one. So Sarira Avidyajal. So the body is very ignorant. Yeah. Jodendriya Tahekal. So the senses also it is under the effect of the senses. Jive Fele Vishasagare, and these senses push you into the ocean of misery. Tare Madhye Jihva Ati. So out of all these senses, Jihva is tongue, and Ati is the most. Lobhamai Sudurmati. It is the wicked and most difficult to control. Take Jeta Katina Samsare. Take Jeta Katina Samsare. What does it mean?
Sankirtan is for that.
Yeah.
Means for that cutting samsara. Cutting means difficult.
Difficult,
Is
the
samsara.
ocean of samsara. Yeah, next. Krishna Bada Mahayavaya. So, to get over this ocean of misery, what with Krishna, who is the most merciful, Kori Bare Jihva Jaya, to get victory over the tongue, Swaprasad Anna Dhirobhai, he has given his own remnants of the food. Say Annamrita Pav. Say Annamrita Pav.
That prasad is to be.
Yeah, that is what he has given us. Radha Krishna Gunagav. So,
All glories.
all glories to Radha Krishna. Preme Dako Chaitanya Nitai.
With love.
Loudly chant Chaitanya Nitai. Jai Nimai, Jai Nitai. Yeah, just saying about without eating prasad, we are eating sin. Same thing. Without giving something to Krishna, we are leading very simple lives. Hare Krishna.
Rabbi Prabhu,